President Becken and Nelson as well. And then just let me know, Newt, when you want because we have some students in the waiting room as well.
Yeah, I think you can admit them all now, Joe.
Admit everybody? Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I think we come close to the hour. It is 11 a.m.
Okay.
Morning, Eka.
Oh, I was on mute. Good morning, Ken. It's great to see you. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Great.
Dr. Tom Liu from JPL, welcome, sir.
Good morning, everyone. Newt, just let me know if you want to start or give a.
I think let's give it a few more minutes so we get a few more students on the TRC member. I see Janu, Nelson, and Kurt. Kurt, did Rock Chappelle confirm that he'll attend?
You know, I didn't hear from him, so I'm not sure if he's going to be able to attend or not.
Okay. And Sean McWhorter, is he attending? Kurt, should we wait for him?
No need to wait for Sean. I'll try to get a hold of him to see if he's.
Oh, there's Sean. Okay.
Sean just chimed in now.
Okay, excellent.
Okay, Joe, I think we can roll it, Joe. So can you go back to the main page?
Got it. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our NASA Technical Review, which we're also calling our STEAHMinar, our end-of-year project presentations. My name is Professor Joe Bautista. I am a faculty member in Art and Design, also Associate Director of ARCS. And today, I'm just going to be running the board here. So if there's any technical issues or things regarding the meeting room, let me know. Otherwise, Newt will be able to provide context of what today is all about and introduce everyone. So Newt.
Good morning and welcome all to our STEAHMinar and the NASA Technical Review virtual visit. And this is ultra exciting to have you all here with our leadership from CSUN, a group of wonderful NASA Technical Review community members and also collaborators at NASA and JPL, and also our faculty members and our student. Welcome to you all. And just a brief explanation, every year, the NASA not only give us money to do research, but NASA also spend the time to recruit and invite a group of technical experts who supposedly go visit our campus in person for like 2-3 days and give us advice on how can we better establish collaboration and how can we better make contribution to the work that NASA doing and pursue the goals that NASA wants us to work on, which is to get more student in underserved, underrepresented student into STEM-related workforce. Unfortunately, with COVID, we are doing it a short version this year, but I promise you all next year, we're gonna do it in person and we have a really wonderful in-person visit. And we haven't had an in-person visit since we launched the center, unfortunately, but I guess it's amazing how we've been able to, roll on and done all these great things with COVID. So that's the gist of it. We have this committee who's here to talk to us, help us listen to what we do. And so Joe, can you go to the next chart for the agenda for today? So in today's agenda, we'll first start with some welcome comments, remarks from our president, Beck, our Provost Walker, and I'll have a few comments as well. And then we'll have 3 student presentation. We actually have many projects, but this is a selected group presentation that we'll be making today. We have a break from 12:30 to 1 p.m. today. And throughout the presentation, I encourage everyone to post your questions in the chat box. I and Joe and the other members will try to answer these questions as much as we can, and also with the professors and other NASA collaborators as well. So before we get going, I would like to ask Curtis Hansen, if you could introduce yourself and also introduce the members of the NASA Technical Review Committee, and then I'll introduce our president and provost that they make the remarks. So Kurt.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm excited actually to come and see the campus. I missed the kickoff because I had caught a cold right before that happened, and with all the COVID stuff, I didn't want to attend just in case. But I'm looking forward to coming down and seeing your place. Yeah, so I work at Armstrong, NASA Armstrong, in the Flight Dynamics and Controls branch. Work on different technologies like autonomous control, adaptive control, electrified vehicles, things like that. And right now, we're looking a lot at handling qualities and ride qualities of urban air taxis. So that's me. Maybe we'll jump to Nelson next.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Oh, there you are. Yep.
All right. So yeah, I'm Nelson Brown, and I'm also at NASA Armstrong, and I do similar things, but recently I've been working on autonomy projects, especially certifiable autonomy for small unmanned aircraft. And I've had a few interns from CSUN work in our lab, so it's always fun to get caught up on the other things that are happening at CSUN. So thank you.
Janu, do you want to go next?
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Junior Nicola. I work in the Controls and Dynamics branch. I've been started working on our urban aerial mobility program and kind of helping the FAA with, some of the certification of these vehicles. What type of new handling qualities requirements do we have? What type of performance requirements do we need to dictate? And it looks a lot of the work you guys have been doing in your autonomy lab looks really helpful and could help NASA out in on these type of programs. So looking forward to hearing about your work and all the great stuff your students have been working on. Thanks.
Thanks, Janu. Sean McWhorter.
Hi there. Yeah, I'm Sean McWhorter. I'm also in the Dynamics and Flight Controls branch. Currently working on a eVTOL project, which is basically my focus is coming up with analytical properties of the vehicle dynamics, and how do you translate that into things like envelope protection and reachability, that's and some autonomy and mixed in there too.
Okay, Rod.
Hi, this is Rod Chappelle. I work out of NASA's REAP program. I lead one of the pillars, one of 4 pillars entitled Partnerships and Sustainability. And we work with internal and external partners to support efforts at MSIs. So thank you.
Okay, that's the TRC.
Well, thank you for the introduction and welcome again to the TRC. Joe, can you turn on the slides again, please? Well, so this is a detailed agenda for today. We'll continue with our president and provost and presentation for me, and we have a series of student presentation across many different projects and different disciplines. And I think we can have a full day of really wonderful talk from from students. So Joe, next slide, please. Well, it's my pleasure and honor to welcome our new president. She joined us, but she just recently joined us, but it's been a lot of fireworks and lots of everything going. Lots of energy, and I've been inheriting a lot of that energy as well. So I would like to introduce to you our president, Dr. Erica Beck. And so Dr. Beck now will talk to you about these bullet points, and she'll all have another slide after this. So Erica, please.
Well, thanks, Newt. I don't know that I really want faculty to say that I brought fireworks, but energy for sure. And I have to tell you, I'm feeling a little inspired by the STEAHMinar title and realize I need far more creativity when naming my own meeting. So good morning. It's good to be here and to see you all. And I'd just like to give a special welcome to the TRC. Nice to hear from you all. And also to our students who are presenting their research, and to our faculty who have so ably guided them, as well as our partners and collaborators from NASA and JPL. So it's wonderful to be here with all of you. And of course, special appreciation to CSUN's very own Dr. Newt Ho and Professor Joe Batista, and the entire team at ARCS for pulling all of this together, but really for facilitating this partnership year round. I will start by saying we are incredibly proud of our collaboration with NASA and JPL and all that has been accomplished as a result of our relationship. In addition to the importance of the multidisciplinary approach to inquiry and discovery that our faculty are facilitating in their research endeavors with our students as part of this program, we're also especially proud that it expands research opportunities for our richly diverse student body, as Newt mentioned, many of whom are the first in their families to attend college, and as an institution grounded really clearly in the foundational values of equity, inclusion, and belonging. We are incredibly committed to enabling human potential and expanding opportunity across an inequitable landscape. So our work together with all of you and ARCS not only impacts our students' lives, it really transforms their entire families and elevates the communities that we are so proud to serve. I will say that from my perspective, the future for CSUN is incredibly bright. And I am very confident that we will continue to emerge as a national model for accelerating equity and inclusion in higher education. In my first semester, so I'm now in my second semester with the university, having joined in January. In my first semester, I engaged in a wide-reaching listening tour with really thousands of faculty, staff, students, alumni, business, industry, and community leaders to hear about our challenges, our opportunities, and our aspirations. And building on what I heard from the community in that first semester, this semester, we have embarked on an inclusive planning process that will really help us lay the foundation for the future of the university together. With equity at the center of everything that we do, a very key aspect of our future includes our recently announced Global Hispanic Serving Institution Equity Innovation Hub. And this project will serve as an engine in accelerating the pipeline of diverse professionals working in STEM fields. The Equity Innovation Hub was made possible through the incredibly generous support of Apple in partnership with the state of California and the championing of many elected leaders, including Senator Alex Padilla, who is also working to secure additional federal support for the hub right now, actually in the budget in the Senate. There is incredible synergy between the hub and ARCS, and our faculty will be able to leverage the many successful strategies that were created in ARCS, but also at the same time enhancing the cutting edge learning tools and spaces available to our ARCS students and faculty researchers that will be part of the Equity Innovation Hub that will open its doors in the fall of 2024. So we're very excited about that. I would just say that from my perspective, in the short time that I've been here, I've spent a fair bit of time with Newt and understanding what's happening in ARCS. And I really think it serves as a standard bearer for what the best of what a public university has to offer our community, in allowing our students to have these really innovative opportunities to participate in STEAM fields, but that interdisciplinary nature is so very important. And it's one of the ways that we strengthen the civic, social, and economic future of our communities, but also the ways in which we advance a brighter and more equitable future. And importantly, really sets our students on an ongoing path of personal and professional success. And we can see this in ARCS 34 NASA and industry-sponsored autonomy research projects, including the work on Mars 2020 and Artemis 2023, 17 interns placed at NASA to date, as well as the more than 80 undergraduate and graduate student researchers building a pipeline for a diverse STEAM future workforce. So I could not be more proud of the success that you will see that is on full display today through the work of our really talented students and their faculty mentors, as well as through the work of ARCS more broadly, and of course our incredible partners at NASA and JPL. So I appreciate you all being here. I have every confidence it will be a really engaging, productive, and informative session, and I'm so glad to be able to join you.
Thank you, President Beck. Next, I would like to introduce you our Provost Walker, who will share her remarks with us. Joe.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. It's nice to see you today. I think we did this last year also on Zoom, so I'm very much looking forward to doing it in person next year. So Newt, don't you forget that. I'll just say a little bit. I think that President Beck really talked about the importance of ARCS at our university very well, and how it fits into a lot of the other things that we've got going on. A university such as CSUN, you know, are at the heart of what we do is our equity mission towards access and excellence. And academic excellence is apparent and is throughout so many parts of the university. And I think that the ARCS initiative is an especially bright example of that academic excellence. As you know, all the Cal State systems we're all looking at the Graduation Initiative 2025, which is a challenge to us to move our graduation rates for our undergraduates forward and to erase the equity gaps in those graduation rates for our students. And so we know a lot of things that really affect our students' progress and their success is the ability to be involved in high impact activities such as involvement in research. And again, ARC stands as a shining example of involving students in substantive, interesting research experiences that will inform their career paths. And, you know, I myself, I'm an economist, and I'm always interested in workforce issues. And CSUN has a very consequential role to play in our ability to help students realize their career paths in industries and areas where, you know, some traditionally underrepresented and underserved students, first generation students, have not seen the ability to move into these spheres. And so the high impact we have on the students, that we have so many different programs that help our students see their path into the next step, post-tertiary education, into graduate programs. So this is another important role that ARCS can play in helping our students see themselves to go on and get a master's degree or get a PhD in engineering and come work for y'all full time, right? So this is diversifying and having a impact to have a more creative workforce is really a good longer term goal for our institution and for all of the work that we do. I really do believe in the power and the importance of convergence research. You know, that all the problems that we solve, the big complicated problems that we're working with in our society, all involve interdisciplinary teams. The work we do incredibly rarely means sticking to a very narrow disciplinary slice, right? We really get working it in all these areas. I think that the list of projects that the students will present today is a really good example of that interdisciplinary approach. So I'm really, really excited to see that work going forward and going forward so well. I think I had just maybe a couple other things to say. I really like the idea. Do you want me to say, Newt, talk a little bit about the disruptive possibilities in the STEAM
Yes,
bubble?
please,
Or do you want me to?
please, Joe, could you please roll the slide, Joe? Thank you.
Oh, well, I just want to say that the exciting plans that Newt and Bing and Joe have shown us and talked about with us really shows the power of disruptive thinking on campus and the excitement that brings. So this idea of the STEAM bubble is really just a remarkable, interesting, and it really catches your attention. It catches the interest of everybody. Every time that we've talked about this, people start asking questions and start thinking about it. I see the work to build this really innovative STEAM bubble and all the different possibilities for the use of that. I see that as really helping. It's an embodiment of what we're thinking about in the Equity Innovation Hub, right? We want these kind of ideas to inspire creativity and fire up the intellectual curiosity of our current students and of the students, the high school students or even younger students who might come in and see all this remarkable possibilities in this technology and see themselves doing that. Get them interested in becoming part of CSUN and becoming part of this. It's also a lot of possibilities to leverage this virtually as well. And so we learned a lot about how to do that through the last couple of years. So I'll leave the details here to Newt and the rest of you all. But let me just say that we do see this as part and parcel of the academic excellence that we are looking for here at CSUN. Thank you. I wish I could stay the whole day with y'all. So I'm turning it back to you, Dr. Ho.
You're muted, Newt.
Joe, can you go back to the?
Can you go back to the previous chart, Joe? Yeah, this one. No, the next one, please. Yeah, this one's good. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I want to, next one, please, Joe. Yeah, I really want to expand on the points that Maribeth made. And really in thinking of the STEAM bubble, which was an idea that originated through our conversation with JPL in particular, because the gist is, there's not enough real estate in Pasadena and JPL need more space to do a testing of autonomous system. That's what we're thinking about, a sort of like a football size stadium testing facility. We call it a STEAM bubble. And really try to think about it from 3 different dimensions. The first one is to elevate students. So that's in the first group of text that you see here, lots of text here, really. But the idea is that, NASA is always really all about getting underserved, underrepresented student engaged in authentic learning activity. And JPL see this as a way for our students to have direct access to the autonomy work being done at JPL in an unprecedented way. And this is also a great direct connection to industry for future employment. The second group of bullet point here, we talk about elevating faculty member. As a faculty member, I believe, when faculty do really well, then students going to automatically benefit from the great work that professors do. So we envision really lots of transdisciplinary research opportunity involve hundreds of faculty members across all colleges at CSUN. And the last bullet point is we have this vision about elevating CSUN, and this is in direct support of the Global Equity Innovation Hub that President Beck talked about. And oftentimes when you think about CSUN, we focus a lot on workforce development, but I think this is also a unique opportunity to make CSUN a research destination. And some of our vice president, like Colin Donahill, who believes very strongly that we could be a first choice for many of our students to apply and join our university. And some of the picture you see in the right here is that we envision this STEAM bubble could be really modular place that could be used for different needs. And Joe, could you go to the next slide, please? Just quickly, there's 3 capability that we envisioning for the STEAM bubble. The upper left picture, we envision a data war visualization 360 inside this bubble. And this could be used for a number of different application. For example, our partnership with Medtronic, they're really interested in showing the patient journey. If somebody going through treatment of diabetes and co-diseases, we can help to visualize massive amount of data from the science instrument by NASA. Another important capability is the digital twin. Right now, we're funded by the National Science Foundation to introduce autonomy, AI into the organic waste processing industry. And there's a need to build a replica of this huge physical facility. And we have this digital twin, we'll be able to use it to train underserved community, to prepare workers, to get people understand how workers and technology can coexist in the future. And the lower right picture is the autonomous testing facility that we are looking to work with Armstrong and JPL in industry, and we have had many productive conversations with Armstrong and JPL in the last several months. Next, please, Joe. So let me close with this really brief chart here. We started out 2 years ago with 3 research areas. We have expanded now to 8 research areas, and including really exciting area in autonomy for social medicine with funding from Medtronic. We started doing a lot of work in manufacturing with funding from Autodesk, and now we get funding from the National Science Foundation to address the autonomy and zero waste, and we'll get into many other exciting research areas. And I think this is really a testament to the leadership of CSUN, our president, our provost, all the deans, the vice president, the professor, and the student. And I'm really grateful for all the work that you've been able to do. So I'll stop here and I'll leave a few minutes for the TRC. Any questions for our provost and our president?
I had a question. This is Kurt. Sorry, let me turn my video on. I was curious, so diversity and equity are a very important part of this activity. And I was curious about whether you ever hear from graduates of your university about what barriers they face in the workplace, and maybe what sorts of things that those of us in government and industry can do to try to improve and remove those barriers.
Mary Beth probably has some more specifics. I'll tell you one that's very clear, top of mind for me, just from the view that I have of the university, is the networking gap. So our students have a very substantive networking gap, being first in their family, not sure exactly where they might want to where they might want to work and where the possibilities are. So one of the things that's really important is partnering into the workplace. So spending time recruiting on campus and with students, letting them to know what the possibilities are for them, and the kinds of skills that they need to be prepared. Our faculty are obviously incredibly good at facilitating the academic pieces, but it's that transition into the professional workplace, that networking gap is really top of mind. That's what I hear from students pretty regularly. Mary Beth, what would you add to that?
Well, I think, that's really an important point that you're bringing up. Unfortunately, we hear from too many students, excuse me, alumni, that they were, the first member of the team that was diverse. And there's, we've worked hard here at CSUN to think about culturally responsive pedagogy, making the classrooms be more welcoming and feel more, so you don't feel like you're the only one there. And so the alumni, some of our alums that, I've been privileged to hear, they are eager to help our students. They will come back and they'll talk to students, and they like to help try to provide an open door. But I think if you, if you think about the nature of the workplace and the way that it works and doesn't work, I think that's a barrier. It's a barrier to to joining the group, and it's a barrier to staying with the group. And so, there's probably some stuff there, and then, and the networking piece. So we really, the experiential, so these internships are so valuable, right? Because they really give students a sense of what it's like. And we ought to really be following up with them pretty carefully in terms of finding out what experiences they found off-putting and what experiences they find good, because that could inform some of the workplace changes, just like the way we try to, understand what students feel or see in the classroom. So that'd be what I would add.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Hi, this is Rod Chappelle. So I just had a question about your ability to leverage non-West Coast partners. I know you're a part of the Cal State network, and there's a lot of work happening there. What are your thoughts about supporting work on the East Coast? I'm at Langley, and some of the university partners and businesses there. What are your thoughts about that overall?
Thanks for that question, Rod. So I would say the Equity Innovation Hub is actually national in its scope, and that is why Apple was so interested in the project. It is really intended to connect Hispanic serving institutions around the country to find common cause, to build community, and to learn from one another what is most effective in eliminating equity gaps and really facilitating those diverse pathways into STEM fields. So we are eager to engage additional partners around the country. And that is the exact intent of the Equity Innovation Hub. Mary Beth, I don't know what you would add to that, or Newt.
Well, I guess I could add that we have a couple of projects or initiatives, programs on campus now that involve students spending, there's the 6 weeks in DC, so there are really impactful programs that we have that bring students into different places to do a very short internship or a quick, it's not a study abroad, right? But it's getting out of CSUN or getting out of the West Coast for a little bit to experience it. So there are ways we can make that happen. Got to do a lot of planning around that. And obviously, the pandemic shut that down for a while. But there are different possibilities, and I think that's a great idea, because it is really good for students to see something outside of where they've grown up, because a lot of our students, as are from our area.
Yeah, and let me add a few more points to what President Beck and Provost Walker said, Rod. We are actually had a couple of students doing internship at NASA Langley out of Virginia, actually, right, Joe, through the student in the art department. That was quite amazing that, that happened, and virtually, obviously. But I think that's right. We envision to send more students to NASA Langley in the future. As far as I think the research activity wise, I think we made some really good connection through Oscar Maria, who's a former program manager for the Miro program, and also Jack Ryan, who was, I believe, was branch chief at NASA Armstrong, who has made us make connection for us to connect to. And Rod, I know you working a lot with the companies and also institution to help them prepare capability statements. And if any of them you think is a good synergy for us to connect with, especially in the area of equity, accelerate equity gap, the vision that President Beck talked about, we would love to have more conversation with you and engage in our effort. And really at the end of the day, right, if we're thinking about having a national model, and what that really entails is creating frameworks, creating models, creating ways so that other institutions can take the best practice from what we have and be able to adapt those best practices for their specific situation, and be for us, in the course of our next years and decade, really able to show the impact of how we can transfer what we do to other school and see the success of other school. And I think that's exactly what President Beck is talking about, exactly what ARC is doing. We hope to replicate those successes, those best practices. And in many ways, Rod, we would hope to have other partners who can do parallel implementation, they will be kind of implementing a different version of us at their institution. And when you do parallel implementation collectively, we're going to be able to accelerate what we do faster, because we're going to be able to share resources, share lesson learned. And that's exactly what President Beck and what ARCS is seeking to do when we think about this national model, right?
Okay, thank you. And so Newt, let's talk about what's happening in Puerto Rico soon, because there may be a gathering, in the UAV space, and a lot of the work that you're doing, I think, could be beneficial, to the island as a whole, but definitely to at least 3 of the universities there, and they are obviously Hispanic serving. So let's continue to have that discussion.
Yeah, and we would love to bring them into ARCS, bring them into our Equity Innovation Hub, and have more partners university, right, Erica?
Absolutely. And that actually, Puerto Rico has been top of mind for me. So I love that idea.
Okay, great. Wonderful. Thank you.
Great. So I want to make sure we're respectful of time. So I want to start the student presentations. We do have a break at 12:30 if there's other questions that want to be asked then, but I know some people may have to leave once the student presentation starts. So I just want to thank President Beck again, Chris, Mary Beth, and the CSUN administration side for showing up to this today. Very important for us to have you here, and thank you again. So Newt, okay to start the presentations? Any last words?
Yes, please, Joe.
Okay.
We'll run
So
over. Okay.
we have several students in the room to present. This was a very lofty time frame, but we just wanted to make sure that we had every student have the possibility to present their work today. So very first is Eugen Shin and Rosalind Villalon, who are working with the CoStar Nebula team over at JPL under my supervision. So go ahead, Eugen. The screen is yours.
Okay, Rosalind, would you mind sharing your screen?
Yes, of course.
All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Rosalind. I am currently a senior at CSUN studying communication design. I am also the lead for the ARCS convergence research with JPL Nebula, and am an ARCS associate specializing in web and graphic design.
Hello, everyone. My name is Eugen. I'm a senior at CSUN studying communication design. I'm also an ARCS associate graphic designer for the CoStar/Nebula communication design project, and we'll be discussing the development of the website for JPL CoStar, what Nebula is, their participation in the Darpa Sub-T Challenge, and the design assets we have created for CoStar, such as t-shirts and stickers that go onto robots.
So for the website redesign, we have implemented a more consistent layout and adjusted the font, colors, and images so that it enables the site to be more comprehensible, user-friendly, and accessible. In addition, we also included a blog as a way to encourage team members to be able to share and discuss the work, and as a method for increased engagement. So with these adjustments, it enables visitors to grasp a better understanding and insight towards the Nebula framework that is implemented onto JPL's robots. So what is Nebula, you may ask? Well, Nebula, which stands for Networked Belief-Aware Perceptual Autonomy, is a unified modular system. This modular design enables adaptation to various mobility platforms. It allows for autonomous exploration of extreme environments and terrain on Earth, along with other planetary bodies. The Nebula framework addresses uncertainty in numerous elements within its mission, such as the uncertainty in the environment, in addition to robot perception capabilities, robot actions, and communication. Main features of the Nebula framework include the autonomous capabilities of resilient navigation, large-scale multi-robot dense mapping, mesh communication, multi-robot operation, extreme traversability, and autonomous skill learning. So with the development of the Nebula framework for the autonomous robots, JPL CoStar has participated in this year's Darpa Subterranean Challenge Finals. So what this essentially is a robotics competition that aims to develop autonomous robotic solutions intended for search and rescue missions where first responders underground may not have access to GPS or direct communications. And so the objective of the communication is to map, navigate, and search underground environments. And so for this year's challenge, it incorporates the previous year's challenges and environments involving the tunnel and urban circuits with the natural cave circuits. Also, fun fact, CoStar has actually won 5th place this year, so that's very interesting. Anyway, we'll move on to discussing the t-shirt designs and the stickers that we have created for the team for the challenge.
Okay, so I'll be talking about the t-shirt designs for this year's Team CoStar. So similar to previous year's layout of the t-shirt, we have kept the important part of the design, such as the CoStar combination mark logo in red, as well as the words Team CoStar underneath the logo in white. However, for the backside of the t-shirt, we have made some adjustments to the layout of the Nebula Autonomy logo and its tagline, powering the next generation of robots. We enlarged the Nebula Autonomy logo and tucked the tagline underneath to make sure the focus was on the logo, as it leads the eye down to read the tagline. During this redesign, I learned the importance of hierarchy using scale to bring emphasis in certain aspects of the design. When choosing the color of the t-shirt, we asked the CoStar team members' opinions and voted on a simple black color t-shirt with red and white logo and type. Some of the obstacles our team has faced with producing the t-shirts for the Darpa Sub-T Challenge was to have it mass printed and delivered just in time for the event. But despite the tight turnaround time, our team has worked closely with Rob, who is a representative from Smart Source Printing Company, and managed to print the designs and have them delivered to JPL in time for the challenge. The t-shirt was worn by the participants during the Sub-T Challenge, and it helped identify CoStar Nebula as well as bring the participants together as a team. And next, I'll be talking about the idea behind the design of the stickers that were used to help identify the robots for the Sub-T Challenge. When coming up with the concept behind designing for these identifying stickers, we decided to use planet names for Nebula team robots. These names are from Greek gods and goddesses. We wanted to run with the idea that the Nebula team robots are powerful like these gods and goddesses, and that they too can achieve many tasks without human interaction. The names we have chosen for these stickers were also instrumental in knowing the placement of the robots during the different experiments in the Subterranean challenge. On this illustrated map, you can see the different placement of the 10 robots with its own identifiable planet stickers. On the left side of the map, there is a base station, which is also the entrance to the tunnel or cave that is identified as the sun. Then from there are 4 husky robots, which are closer to the sun, that's mainly using the terrestrial planet names such as Mercury, Venus, Mars, and the 4th husky robot is named Jupiter. Next, the 4 spot robots are further away from the base station, so we use Jovian planet names such as Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and so forth. And these are the final planet designs for the stickers. Again, using scale to show hierarchy, we enlarged the numbers on the stickers to identify them easily and placed the planet names below it, along with the type of robot on the top of the number. The unique colors of the planets also helps to identify which robot is which during the challenge. And here is a mock-up image of how the sticker should be placed on the robots. This mock-up also shows a better representation of how big the sticker should be printed as well. If the stickers are printed too small, the cameras on the robots cannot detect each other during the fully autonomous search inside the dark caves and tunnels. And during our time with CoStar and learning from the project itself and designing assets for the team, not only did we gather experience and grow our skills as designers, but we have acknowledged that our work has created a close relationship between research and purposeful design. We have recognized the importance of visual communication and how purposeful design can be applied in order to better communicate and support the goals and findings of CoStar Nebula. Information, however valuable, is ineffective if not developed and communicated well visually. From developing web content to designing t-shirts, our partnership with JPL has engendered success with effectively communicating and supporting the research findings and goals of JPL. We already know that compelling design is an integral part towards effective communication. That's why with our convergence research, we can continue to integrate researchers from various backgrounds to develop innovative solutions for both the investigative and communicative needs of a project. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Eugen and Rosalind.
Thank you.
Next up is Danielle Contreras and Giselle Barrera, whose co-I or faculty lead is Professor Suzanne Scheld, who could not be here today, but Go ahead, Danielle and Giselle, if you can set up.
I'm sorry, just a moment, I'm bringing it up.
Does anybody have a quick question for Eugen or Rosalind?
Yeah, I'll ask a question. Is there an aspect to autonomy that you found particularly challenging in trying to represent and communicate to maybe, you know, either via the website or something else that communicate to people who maybe wouldn't have a good understanding of what autonomy is?
Yes, so we have, like you've seen on the slideshow, the diagram of the main features of the Nebula framework. And so that is also implemented onto the website. So it also has a description for each category. So people are able to better have a more in-depth understanding behind each feature. So essentially when we created the website, it also elaborates more onto the features. And so it's very more easily understandable for the general person.
Sure, yeah, graphics always help. So yeah, thank you.
Of course.
Hey,
Okay.
Mackenzie.
Oh, sorry.
Are you good, Giselle?
I'm good.
Okay, I was about to ask Mackenzie to go. Okay, Giselle, go ahead.
All right.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Danielle Contreras, and I'm one of the fellows on our project along with Giselle Barrera. Welcome to our presentation, Developing Research on Team Culture in a Hybrid Work Environment, a status report. We would like to thank you all for joining us today, and we appreciate your time. The basis of this research came from JPL's 2018 strategic plan titled Laboratory of the Future. One of the goals outlined in this plan was the desire for a talented and inclusive workplace, rapid information sharing, and cultural innovation. Based on this goal, Team 1, led by Neil Thompson and Michael Baumgarten, developed their research around the question, what kind of team culture is necessary for JPL to become the laboratory of the future? To answer this question, Team 1 utilized ethnographic methods such as archival research, virtual participant observation with an interest group, and semi-structured interviews. The team interviewed a diverse range of employees, including managers, leads, and engineers. Despite their research being conducted under the constraints of COVID-19, Team 1 was able to collect a rich array of data, which they used to develop their preliminary findings. We decided to take a deeper look into the transcripts of the interviews conducted by Neil and Michael. To do this, we analyzed 15 questions and we split our team into 3 groups of 2. After analyzing, we recoded the data by hand and we experimented with different approaches for collapsing questions, labeling, and organizing the data. We also had lots of group discussion for the purpose of norming our perspective of the data. Based on the 22 semi-structured interviews with managers, leads, and engineers, we found that participants define highly functioning teams at JPL as having a number of shared features, including clearly defined roles, good team communication, good active listening, respecting peers, transparent decision-making, and accountability. We also found that women and men define the features of highly functioning teams in different ways. For instance, women focus on environmental aspects such as the extent to which all members feel included and comfortable expressing their ideas. Men, in contrast, focus on functional aspects of team communication, such as technology and the mechanics of conversation. Our study examines team culture at JPL with an eye towards contributing insights for strengthening communication among managers, leads, and engineers. It was developed in response to JPL's 2018 strategic plan, which calls for JPL to become the laboratory of the future. For sake of time, we will only go through a few findings and recommendations during this presentation. I will begin by talking about the findings regarding making JPL the laboratory of the future. As mentioned previously, JPL defines being the laboratory of the future as a talented and inclusive workplace, rapid information sharing, and a culture of innovation. During our reanalysis, we found that some of the most prevalent responses surrounded improving universal data gathering, sharing, archiving, and the idea of having modern technology, but old ways of information gathering and sharing. This was followed by the desire and ability to look up contextual information about a mission or project. For example, Subject 18, a manager, expands on this and states, and I quote, "It takes forever to figure out who has the specific knowledge that you're looking for, who's worked on a similar thing in the past, but because some of the people at JPL have been here for 20 plus years, and so there's sort of a dream of knowing or having at your fingertips information as far as like who is an expert at what in every little thing," end quote. We were also asked to look into inclusivity during our reanalysis, but to our surprise, only 8 participants mentioned inclusivity anywhere in the interview at all. And only 3 of those people gave any definition or insight to what they thought diversity, equity, and inclusivity should mean. 14 respondents didn't mention inclusivity at all, even when prompted while being interviewed or directly after the questions were answered. Some subjects even said they felt like they had no place to comment on inclusivity because they've always been represented in the organization. However, the lack of conversation surrounding inclusivity was surprising considering it is part of JPL's implementation plan. Next up, you will be hearing from Giselle on recommendations.
Okay. After looking more closely at the interviews and JPL's 2018 strategic plan, we formulated recommendations for different aspects of teaming. Today, we will share with you some of our general recommendations for improving communication in teams. Our first recommendation is to open the lines of communication, such as allowing time at the end of meetings for everyone to be given a chance for last-minute input. The second is offering the opportunity for team members to define the culture of communication on their team. Examples are guiding team members about setting the norms of style, frequency, and norms, and training in specific aspects of communication. The third is engaging people in team and/or unit activities. This encourages informal communications among different people. An example of one such activity would be having game nights where JPL can provide a more relaxed and casual atmosphere. Our final recommendation is to employ individuals with high-level communication skills, include questions about communication skills during the hiring process, and to vet candidates' abilities to communicate across cultural groups, disciplines, and ranks. We also came up with recommendations to address diversity, equity, and inclusion in training at JPL. One recommendation is to assess these criteria in terms and divisions. The assessment of these aspects should be transparent, and this should include transparency in the hiring process and with high-ranking roles. Another recommendation is to explore further training in these 3 areas and to make it required for current employees, managers, and recruiters. Furthermore, during the hiring process, it is recommended to ask questions that require candidates to discuss their understanding of diversity, equity, and inclusion. These questions should also include traits that explore candidates' alignment with JPL's cultural and organizational values. The last recommendation for this category is to improve approaches towards mentorship at JPL. Mentors should be trained in the above areas so that they can effectively mentor individuals from all backgrounds. That concludes our presentation. Thank you.
Let me
Thank
just
you.
make one very brief comment about this. So to the TRC, so our student group for this project presented to the director of engineering at JPL, the director of HR, the director of equity, diversity, and inclusion at JPL, and that presentation was extremely well received. And some of the results that the student presented here was included in a presentation that the director of equity at JPL presented to the entire JPL center. So congratulations to the team. It was really phenomenal work. And I think this is making an impact at JPL.
Oh, thank you, Newt.
That's very nice. I had a quick question. So one of the recommendations that you mentioned was having something like a game night or something like that. But I was wondering about, if you have employees, maybe they have small children or something like that, and they're not able to make those kind of activities, could that actually have the opposite effect and sort of push those people more to the fringe because they can't participate in maybe outside of work kind of team building activities like that?
That's a really good question. I was actually thinking along the lines of doing it via Zoom. I know our ARCS team has, we've done game night the past 2 semesters via Zoom, and it's actually worked out really well, where we use games that you can access on the computer, like word games and giving clues about certain things and trying to guess what it is. So I was thinking more along those lines to where everybody could participate more easily.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be a bad idea to have in-person game nights, but include their children, like a family game night. That would also be a good idea.
Sure. I think we do need to be careful about, work bleeding into personal time, though, also, because not everyone wants to hang out with their coworkers after work. But,
Well,
all right, thank you.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a mandatory thing. It would just be something that's offered if people want to connect more outside of work.
Sure. But things like that can begin to feel mandatory, even if they're not, if you want to get ahead, that kind of thing. But anyway, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Danielle and Giselle. The next team is Dr. Ellie Kazemi, who's here. Do you want to introduce your team members?
Sure, Joe, it's wonderful to see you. I'd love to introduce the team. I am very, very glad to say that we've made a lot of progress on this project. Today, Adisa Pata and Mackenzie McSherry are going to share a project that they've been working on with our collaborators at NASA. Forgive me, I've been very, very sick. And we've been trying to put together a large project to understand the human-robot interactions and explorations that we can do on Mars. So I'm glad that they're presenting and not me. With that, I'm going to hand it over.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Kazemi. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we could jump right into the presentation. Oh, actually, I got to back this up. I got to introduce the project. So the name of the project is We're Organizing Teamwork by Understanding Operator and Multiple Robot Team Performance. So there's myself, Adi Sapata, there's Mackenzie McSherry, who's going to be presenting with me today, as well as Ann Chang and Eric McCoy, who are part of our team. So the first thing we did for our project was we had to conduct a few literature reviews to better understand how teams are organized and how teams communicate. From the behavior analytic literature, we learned what it means to be directive. We found that teams led by directive leads were generally more productive and had a decentralized means of communication. Now, this means that having a team lead who has oversight over the team members' communication could in fact increase that team's performance. From the human-robot teaming literature, we found that having a pooled architecture wherein teammates can communicate with each other and supervise multiple robot teams collaboratively is more efficient than a sector team. Oh, then the sector team. I lost that slide, I guess. Wherein human supervisors can supervise multiple robots separately. So imagine that one individual has a group of robots and another individual has a separate group of robots. So the main question is, how do we improve this pooled structure? So we're planning to conduct an experiment to see if this directive lead method of team organization can in fact generalize to human robot teaming. To test this, we're going to task teams of college students to work together to operate virtual robots through an environment with a team of autonomous robots in order to collect artifacts in a predetermined amount of time. This is a quick video. It's kind of just a demonstration of what the simulation is going to look like, as well as the environment that we're going to be having our participants operate their robots within. We've gathered a group of very passionate students to help us build our simulation. We hold weekly meetings where we're able to monitor the progress of each team member and undergo rounds of feedback. And we have very in-depth discussions about the project, as well as how we can actualize this simulation environment. And here are our IVs as well as our DVs. We're going to be manipulating the team architecture as well as the team size. We're going to be measuring the effects through team performance and team communication. And here's how we plan to have participants randomly assigned to these three groups that we have. So we have one group, which is titled the Central Communication Group. We have a Decentralized Communication Group, as well as a No Communication Group. Each team will undergo a video tutorial to learn about their task and how they'll maneuver through the environment. And I'm going to pass it over to Mackenzie to talk about how we're going to be manipulating team size.
Thank you, Adi. So alongside Adi and Ann in this project, I will be adding a level of dividing the participant group in order to analyze team size. So literature studies have shown that the appropriate team size is super crucial and super important because it optimizes workflow, it decreases stress levels by distributing the workload, it maximizes safety within the workplace, and it overall optimizes performance among team members. So in previous autonomous system literature, it is found that the optimal team size is 2 to 3 operators per just one robot. And behavior analytic literature found that the optimal group size is 5 members. However, the thing is there's not really any current literature found for human robot teaming that analyzes numbers when working with pooled robots. So we're really looking forward to kind of filling in that gap. Therefore, the variables that we in particular are manipulating in this project are the 3 participants and teams of 5 participants. So participants will go into the division of general communication, decentralized communication, and no communication, and then be divided once again into groups of 3 or 5. And each of these teams will have a pool of 9 robots. The ratio of operators to robots will differ. However, the pool of robot size will remain constant, and we will assess these teams with our dependent variables of performance and communication. And I will pass it back to Adi to talk about communication.
Cool, thank you, Mackenzie. So now let's take a look at this communication. What exactly are we doing here? Now, when assessing the quality of communication, it's important to consider a team's architecture, a team's size, as well as the task complexity, as these variables can have significant effects on the overall team's performance, as well as overload. Current literature suggests that virtual and remote teams are more likely to have misunderstandings and struggle to identify experts around them to help solve problems faster. Having too many communicators can also have a too many cooks effect, which lowers the overall quality of communication and lowers team performance. So similar to autonomy, task complexity is a main factor that affects task completion efficiency as well as communication. All these variables are really important. Now, this literature only examines teams of humans working with humans and have not looked at how teams of humans work with robots. So we could potentially influence how teams can work together. By having more efficient and structured communication among team members, we would help offset these effects. We will be manipulating team size as well as team architecture, and we anticipate seeing positive effects on communication effectiveness. And to measure this, we plan to record each team's audio from the simulations, transcribing it into a text format, and then analyzing it qualitatively to identify indicators of effective communication. In doing so, we'll have an understanding of why people are communicating, when people are communicating in relation to events that are happening within the simulation, how frequently people are communicating, and who they're communicating with. And that's our project. Thank you.
Great work, great presentation. Oh, quick question from TRC.
Yeah, I had a question. I was curious about your pool of participants appeared to be all students. I was wondering if you think there would be any selection biases in that group that would lend them to be come up with a different result than you would if the participant pool was drawn from like a more cross section of society than university students.
I think it's an interesting question. One of the things that we were considering at the beginning of our project was how do we get a diverse pool of individuals, people who may have experience in video games, people who may have experience with such simulations could in fact have better performance just because of their learning history. So one of the things that we did was we're utilizing our school's SONA system. It's this randomization pool of students from across the university. And it gets us a pretty diverse population, but I think that down the line, one of the things that's going to be very beneficial with this project and the next stages of this project is we can take this very simulation and apply it to any population we want to. You can kind of send it to whoever you want as like this zip file or this package, and they can apply it whatever industry they want to apply it within. So I think that the more that this data gets gathered and the more that this project kind of develops over time, I think that we'll get to see a lot of different populations interact with the simulation in various ways.
Okay, are you documenting things about the participants, like their experience with video games, and so that you can divide the results?
Yeah,
along those lines?
It's really cool. Ann Chang, one of our team members, came up with this demographic survey where we get to see what is their experience been with simulations, leadership, team dynamics, as well as video games. And we're taking all of that data to help us draft our manuscripts.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Ginu, did you have your hand up? No? Okay. Thank you so much, team. The next group, Dr. Bingbing Lee, do you want to introduce your group?
Sure. Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Bingbing.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say this is really excellent work. Like one of the things.
Thank you so much, team. The next group, Dr. Oh, go ahead, Gino, because I think there's a big lag there. So go ahead, complete that thought.
Gino, please go ahead.
So go ahead, complete that thought.
Yeah, sorry. We're not allowed to use Zoom on our computer, so I'm using the web interface. So I might be lagging a little bit. I'll try to restart and you guys can go on.
Okay, well, we could provide this team with your contact information if you want to send them a note about the presentation. Okay, Bingbing.
Okay, sure. I'm excited to share this project. It was sponsored by Lineage Logistics. It's one of the largest cold food storage company, supply chain company in the worldwide. And this is, I think it's 600K of sponsor from Lineage Logistics. We partner with UT San Antonio, UC Irvine, and Case Western Reserve University. And then we have the students from CISA and the Case Western as well. So I think Paula, Kang, and Mitesh, they will make their presentation to address the challenge of the climate change and the resilience assessments for the supply chain. Thank you. Kang?
All right, who would like to share screen?
Oh, Paula, okay.
Paula, do you have you're in, right?
Oh, are you having me share screen?
I don't know who's the, is it Paula or Mitesh?
I can share it.
Okay.
But the host disabled participants screen sharing. I may need a.
I see you now. Give me 1 second. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Maybe Paula can do the presentation for the first 2 slides.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Paula. I am a mechanical engineering student at CSUN, and I am a research fellow on this project. I'm joined here by Kong Shen and Mitesh Sawant, and we're going to talk a little bit about our project today. So I'm just going to give you a quick overview of the background for our project. So Lineage Logistics is a cold food storage company with locations all over the United States as well as worldwide, as you can see from this map. And being a cold storage logistics company, their facilities require precise temperature and electrical power control in order to keep the food from spoiling. And recently, climate change-driven weather events have begun to impact these facilities, such as the snowstorms in Texas that spurred the 2021 energy crisis, for example. Additionally, other climate change-driven weather events, such as intensifying heat waves, hurricanes, floods, and deep freezes, all pose a really big challenge for maintaining these precise temperature and power requirements for cold food storage. So the motivation for this project is to conduct research into climate change-driven weather events, just to assess the resiliency of cold food storage companies like Lineage Logistics in the face of intensifying climate change. And with that, I'll hand you off to my team members who will tell you a little bit more about the data modeling we've been doing.
Hi, I'm Kang Shen. I'm a PhD student from Case Western Reserve University. I'm also a student fellow in this project. We will do the life cycle assessment part in this project. This is the system boundary of the life cycle assessment for the Lineage Logistics food supply chain. As illustrated in the figure 1, these 6-step processes are included in the boundary. First, it starts from the food production, which consists of agriculture, which means strawberry in the project, and also the aquaculture, the squid fish in the project. Then the food was transported from production sites to warehouses to keep fresh. After that, the food will be repacked into smaller sizes and continues to be stored in the warehouse, ready to be transported to retailers. In some cases, the food may be transported among warehouses, and that process is not considered in the boundary. In the transportation process, most of the inventory data is from the eco-event database of the Gabi professional software and actual transportation data. Meanwhile, the inventory data in other process is from linear logistic and literatures. This figure shows the modeling scheme of the life cycle assessment, including the energy and the material flow. The functional unit of our life cycle assessment is 1 kilogram of the product ready to retail. And to analyze the environmental impact and the cost of the functional unit, it includes 4 sections: production, transportation, warehousing, and repacking. The production will consider the fishing and crop production. For example, for the squid fish, the fishing part will only consider the energy consumed by the fishing boat, since the squid fish is wild caught. And for strawberries, the crop production will consider the soil elements, water, crop protection, energy, and embedded energy in the seeds and plants. For the soil elements, we will consider the synthetic fertilizers and organic fertilizers and other soil elements like the lime to adjust the soil pH. And for the crop production, we will consider the pesticides and other organic crop production chemicals. The energy consumed in the crop production will include diesel, gas, and electricity. That's for the production part. And the transportation, we will use the eco-event database transportation flow, and we will modify it based on the real calculation data, considering the transportation type, the ship, the railway, the trucks, and also the fuel consumption of them, and also the traveling time and distance between warehouses and production sites. And also we will consider the empty return rate, since the backhaul consolidation strategy is considered. And for the warehousing, which is a main part for the cold storage, the energy and water will be considered. The main part of the energy is electricity consumed in the warehouse. For example, the blast freezing technology, the ARCS technology, air pressures, defrosting, and others. And also the natural gas will be considered. And if the warehouse use renewable energy like solar, tide, and wind turbine, we'll also include that in our model. The last process is a repacking. The the repacking, we will first consider the embedded energy and the material use for the packing materials, like the plastic liner bags, the aseptic bag, the wooden box, and little drum used to store the squid fish. And also the packing machine will consume electricity in the repacking process, and also the water is consumed. That's the scheme for our life cycle assessment Gabi modeling. And this is a screenshot of our model built so far. It is the same as the modeling scheme I showed in the previous slide. And we also collect information about the fishing boat fuel consumption, the fishing boat energy flow, the strawberry farming inventory, and also the strawberry production to evaluate the distance between the production site and the warehouses. And we also did research on the cold strawberry stocks. Here's the data from the United States Department of Agriculture. It shows that the frozen strawberry stock rise to the top between June to August and drop to the bottom between February to April. And also here's a crop production map, maybe we also used in our project. And I will hand it over to Paula to continue the presentation.
Hi again, everyone. So I'll be presenting some of our preliminary weather data acquisition for this project. So I was tasked with obtaining historical data sets for both climate data and fisheries data for the Southern California region. But just for this presentation, I'll walk you through our first set of data, which is weather and climate history. So one of the data sets that I used is from a system called ARCS, which is a subsidiary of NASA JPL. ARCS is a satellite weather system that monitors a variety of surface weather conditions such as oceanic temperature, day and nighttime surface temperature, precipitation, dust, humidity, and a few others. And the cool thing about this tool is that I can analyze the data on a day-to-day basis. So for example, if I wanted to check the conditions on a specific date in the past, I can do just that if the data go back that far. Plus it comes in the form of maps, so we can inspect the data on a region-specific basis. Next slide, please. And here's an example of the data mapping capabilities of the AIR system, which is especially useful if we want to focus our research on the Southern California area. And this map in particular was chosen at a random date, which was September 8th, 2013. And I've overlaid both temperature and precipitation data just to show that we can observe multiple data points at once. Next slide, please. And this particular map shows us surface air temperature going back to 2003. Next slide, please. This map shows us relative humidity levels starting on January 1st, 2006. Next slide, please. And this map shows us daytime wind speeds from June 7th, 2015. Next slide, please. Oh yeah, thank you. So one of the issues that I ran into while analyzing this data is that each data set in this series has a different start date. So basically I just went ahead and established start dates for each set just so I can make my life easier with analysis. And as you can see, we have a wide range of start dates. Ooh, sorry, one second. Actually, can you go one more slide forward, please? Thank you. Yeah, this is the slide I was referring to. As you can see here, we have a wide range of start dates for our data. So it's important for us to know exactly how far back in time these maps go in order for us to get a clear picture of the weather history in Southern California, which is it's crucial for the purposes of making a resiliency assessment for lineage logistics. And right here, you can see the list of start dates I obtained, which is going to come in handy when I dive in and start going through these data sets. So now that we have our start dates for all of our data sets, the next step is to begin processing the data at the time periods of interest. And from here, we can start to put together our assessment for lineage logistics and start taking steps towards improving their resilience in the face of climate change. And that's all we have for you today. Thank you, everyone. If you have any questions, please let us know.
Yeah, I had a question. I was curious. It looked like you stopped with retail and did not include things like disposal or recycling of the packaging, anything like that. I was wondering if you had any thoughts on, is that an important part to include, or are there just no climate dependencies on that process?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good question because this is the project for lineage logistics. We define our scope of work based on their the major concerns and their interests. So because they are the logistics company, and then they only take care of all the products, right, food products from the farmers or from the ocean, and then to their storage warehouse, and then to ship to the customer or to the supermarket. So that's why they don't have all the data, to share with us, so we can cover the the customers or the recycling, all this stuff, even though they are really important for the whole environment, but they don't have this data. So that's why we cut off to the products.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for this team? Thank you. Dr. Li Lu, would you like to introduce the next team?
Sure,
Saw
sure.
you.
Happy.
There you are.
Yeah, I'm happy to
Welcome.
introduce my team. Thank you, Professor Joe Batista. And so everyone, and my name is Li Liu, and I'm an associate professor from computer science, and it's my great pleasure and to work with students and work with talented faculty members at the center and on these topics in collaboration and with NASA GPL. So today I would like Albert and Thompson and to present their recent research. They have a lot to say, and ask them and to present and just a very short and version of their project. So this is a project, and we have been collaborating and with GPL human interaction group. And so our collaborator is Dr. Scott Davidoff. And so we have been working with him in over a year and on the Mars rover and data. And so without further ado, I'd like Albert and Thompson and to present their project.
All right, can everyone see?
Yes.
All right, cool. All right, so hello, my name is Albert Ng. I'm an applied mathematics grad student at CSUN.
And my name is Timothy Chan. I'm a undergraduate comp sci student at CSUN as well.
Right, and before we start, I just want to give special thanks to Rima Hamalainen and Dr. Li Liu for being our supervising advisors throughout this whole thing. Thank you very much for giving us this opportunity. And so let's start. So before we begin, I want to, the task that we were given was to basically analyze data sets given to us by the Perseverance rover from the Mars 2020 mission, and to create visualizations of the elemental composition with ease and convenience. And before we delve deeper into this, I just want to give a bit of a background on what this whole project was about. And also the larger scope of like how this would contribute to scientific discovery. The Mars 2020 mission was a mission to discover if there was a microbial life on Mars in the past, and possibly maybe, if it's inhabitable for future life. The way that they went about this was that the rover used an instrument called Pixel, which is the planetary instrument for X-ray lithochemistry. A bit of a mouthful, but what it is it's an X-ray spectrometer that takes pictures and identifies elements on a very small scale on the surface of Mars. And so through that data, we were able to create some really cool looking graphs, which we'll be showing you in just a bit. So a brief outline of how this presentation will go. We'll talk about the timeline of our progress, how we did everything, our different methods that we used, some of the results that we got from it, and also our future plans going forward. And so at this point, I'm going to hand it off to my partner, Timothy, to go into the methods and all that good stuff.
Thanks, Albert. So one of the main ideas that we kept in our mind while tackling the pixel data visualization project was how we would be able to represent the provided data sets in a digestible form. So we initially set about on the project by applying the linear regression model and the k-means clustering algorithm to the given data sets to better familiarize ourselves with the data and the Python programming language. So we aim to possibly observe the relationship between the different minerals within the mineral rock itself. But we generally found that both methods proved rather ineffective, as both data sets contain a too large amount of data to accurately show meaningful results. We did, however, note that with k-means clustering, when comparing elements against the calcium element, we produced distinct patterns in the clustering graph. We also attempted image segmentation with k-means clustering in order to uniquely segment different sections of a mineral image based on pixel variation. Our intention was to separate visual characteristics of the mineral. We then also applied several different similarity functions, such as cosine similarity, Manhattan distance, Euclidean distance, and Jacquard distance, in an attempt to represent similarity of two elements in a numerical value based on their distances to one another. With this, we found that when elements were compared with calcium, for example, in the Finchy dataset, the similarity scores in all functions would result in rather low values. We believe this is because of calcium's large presence all throughout the mineral, which lowers the similarity scores as other elements will not be present at these same locations. Our next method I would like to bring up is the crux of our research, which was done, which relates heavily to heat mapping the provided data using the X and Y coordinates in our axes. And in doing so, we were able to produce intensity heat maps that would show the presence and intensity of specified elements in their X and Y coordinates. And based on our results, we expect that the observed minerals in the Finchy, King's Court, and Scotland images to be the mineral fernandinite. I would like to pass the next section on to Albert, who will further elaborate on our findings of the heat mapping method and present the heat map graphs themselves, as well as our thought process and why we believe the mineral to be fernandinite.
All right, so this is our first data set called Finchy. It refers to this picture right here. So on the left side, we have the intensity heat map. What this basically tells us is it tells us the concentration of different elements, as you see down here on the x-axis. There's aluminum, silicon, phosphorus, all the other ones. It tells us the intensity of each element within this picture. And then from there, we basically use this as a reference to see which ones we should do our overlay heat maps for. And for the overlay heat maps, as in the name, we plan to basically put these maps over the actual image so that we can see exactly where the spots, where the elements pop up on this picture. And some things to note, aluminum was basically very randomly distributed, nothing really useful there. But iron, titanium, there was really nothing there. The most important thing and the most interesting one was vanadium, which is the one right here, and also potassium. As we saw with vanadium, it's almost completely void everywhere else except this one area, and that one area is exactly where this green substance is. Potassium has something similar. It has potassium everywhere, but there's a very high concentration right in this area as well. And so right in the center. And so when we cross-reference this with some online mineral databases, we found a mineral called fernandinite, which fits this profile very well. And we actually had a picture of it on the previous slide right here, this green substance in the bottom right corner. It also has the same color, same texture and everything. And then when we saw about the chemical composition of fernandinite, it was mostly vanadium and potassium and a bit of silicon too, which I guess kind of shows a bit. It's kind of unclear because it's so random here, but that's why we suspected that it was fernandinite based on the results that we got right here for this data set. And the next data set, King's Court, refers to this picture. Again, intensity heat map for reference, and then the overlay heat maps on the right side. Again, we see something very, very interesting with vanadium. We almost have this sort of eye structure right here, and that would be referencing to that little eye thing in the middle of the King's Court picture right there. Let's see what else. Right, yeah, and then sulfur is very is only really apparent at top and left side, and yeah, we can see calcium was very apparent throughout the entire thing as well. The next one was the Scotland data set. Again, intensity heat map for reference. And with this one, we see yet again, vanadium is exactly where the green substance is, as well as potassium. Potassium has higher concentration here than anywhere else. Something also we noticed was that iron was void everywhere except again, the top and left side. And if we look at the actual picture on the bottom, that makes sense because iron is red in color and we could kind of see the brownish red right there. And so that heat map makes a lot of sense too. And then now we have the final one, which is the Laguna data set, which with this one, we actually ran into a bit of a problem because the heat maps that we ended up generating didn't really show us any recognizable distribution in terms of how it would overlay onto our picture right here. And so this actually gave us an idea of what our future plans would be to do. This was one of our problems that we couldn't pinpoint exactly where it was on the heat map. And I'm going to let Tommy take the reins here as he discusses our future plans and how to remedy this.
Thanks, Robert. So to close out our presentation, I would like to go over some of our future goals and tasks we will possibly cover. First, we would like to improve upon our current heat maps accuracy by including decimals in the axes. We also hope to add interactivity with our heat maps so that users can select which elements they wish to view. And we also hope to find a method that determines the exact location where to overlap the heat maps on the mineral image. This will be beneficial to Laguna Data Set, as Albert said, because the scan location is rather ambiguous to us based on the heat maps. In addition, we would like to attempt to add geographical and topological features to our heat map by using a Z dimension. However, our provided data set lacks a Z dimension, and this will likely be an issue we will tackle down the line. And that is all our future goals in the upcoming months.
Well, thank you, Albert and Thompson, for sharing your research progress. Any questions for them?
This is Sean from the NASA Armstrong TRC. So any ideas to incorporate these as like data sets to training a neural network or doing identification, or is this mostly human readable approach?
That could be something we could do down the line. We could do some machine learning related things, yeah, with neural networks and stuff. But at the moment, we're mostly just trying to make it an interactive map that, like a tool that people can use to see, what composition or what chemical overlays on the image and everything. But maybe down the line, yeah, we could do that.
Okay, thank you. Very interesting.
I mean, the interest, one of the interest part of this project is it's a kind of a unsupervised learning, and we don't really know what the object is. And so they are doing a preliminary scan of the raw data and compare with the context image, and trying to present into the scientists and see the area of interest that they can look into. They can bring their domain knowledge and to find interesting stuff on Mars. But that's a good question. And so, yeah, definitely, and using the power of machine is the next step. Thank you, Sean.
Yep, sure. Thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, so we are only 2 minutes over time, so that's amazing. So we have 28 minutes to take a break here. We could open it up to Q&A, or this could be time to just grab a snack or do whatever we need to do because we have another set of presentations, 2 hours worth of presentations starting at 1 o'clock. So if there's any questions that TRC may have just overall, Newton, myself, or the rest of the students that might be in here can answer them, related or unrelated to the projects. That could happen now, or we can I'll just keep the Zoom room open and know that at 1 o'clock sharp, we'll start the next set of presentations. Or Newt, do you have anything you want to mention?
First of all, thank you to all our faculty members for leading and supervising the student, and thank you for all the students for your great presentation. This is very impressive, and also thank you for the TRC for your questions and comments. But yeah, so the TRC, do you have any other questions, comments, or do you want?
This is Nelson. I'll just say that I'm really impressed with the presentations. I think the students are doing an excellent job presenting in this, what's kind of an awkward format, I know, but they're probably better at it than me. So yeah, thanks. I'm going to step away for a coffee, but I'll be right back so I can talk during the break if anyone wants.
Thank you, Nelson. Anything else, Kurt?
No, not for me.
Neil,
ready to go to break, Joe?
Okay, well, we'll keep the Zoom open, and then if anybody just wants to chime in and ask a question or have a discussion, feel free to do so. But Bing.
Oh yeah, I saw Danny from Autodesk join us, so maybe I can give him a chance to introduce himself.
Sure.
Danny. Danny, are you here? Danny Gandhi.
We can catch up with him later at 1 o'clock.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Should let him know.
Okay. All right.
Okay, I think you all take a break. We'll see you all at 1 o'clock.
All right, great. Thank you.